New York City is under siege, and it's the Ghostbusters of old and the Ghostbusters of now returning to the Big Apple to conquer the biggest challenge they've ever faced. Who you gonna call? Why me, Mikey Lito, and you have my review of Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire coming up next. Hey everybody, Mike Alito here with another matinee review today of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. It is the fifth installment of the Ghostbusters series uh, franchise. It's a direct sequel to the 2021 film Ghostbusters Afterlife, which in and of itself was a direct sequel to the first two Ghostbuster films of the 1980s. So, before I get into that, let me put on my glasses so I can read my notes. Let's talk a little bit about the business side of, maybe I can do it like that so that it doesn't reflect. Let's get into a brief talk about the business side of the Ghostbusters. With so much focus on film franchises in Hollywood these days, Columbia Pictures partnered with one of the original creators, Dan Aykroyd, you remember him, and the son of the original director, Ivan Reitman, his son, Jason Reitman, to form a company called Ghost Corps, Corps. Uh, Now, their first attempt at reviving the film series was an ill fated film entitled Ghostbusters Answer the Call. Actually, it was called Ghostbusters, but at the end of the film, it was called Ghostbusters Answer the Call. The problem for me with that film was not the all female cast. I know a lot of people uh, had a problem with the all female cast. I was not one of those people. I was fine with that. What I uh, They had a great cast: Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones, and Chris Hemsworth. Fantastic cast, very funny. My problem with the film was the fact that there was no reference to the heritage of the Ghostbusters from the first two films. So instead of giving audiences cameos by the original cast, they did some really weird stuff uh, where they presented the characters as just like we saw the original cast, but they weren't the characters that we saw them in the first two Ghostbuster films. So the cast members: Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Sigourney Weaver, and Annie Potts all appeared in Ghostbusters Answer the Call, but not as the characters from the original films. A lot of controversy about that film because of the all female cast and et cetera, et cetera. Ill fated, ill fated. So the second film from Ghost Corps was Ghostbusters Afterlife. 2021. All new cast and a plot that dealt with the absence of original co-creator and cast member Harold Ramis. Uh, his character was Egon Spengler, and that film began on a farm in Oklahoma. And through a variety of camera tricks and CGI, they created the death of Egon Spengler and developed a story that introduced all new cast members as Spengler's family in that Oklahoma location. That cast included Carrie Coon, who played Spengler's estranged daughter, Callie, a woman with two kids, Trevor, played by Finn Wolfhard, and Phoebe, played by McKenna Grace. Now, Callie felt abandoned by her father's research into the paranormal. Uh, Ghost over there. Uh, Trevor was just like an average high schooler left to his own devices, like they are in many of these films. Uh, Phoebe was the only one of the family that was interested in her grandfather's research, and she searched around the farm, finding all different kinds of devices and secret hiding places that her grandfather had left around. Paul Rudd was introduced as Gary Gruberson, who was Phoebe's teacher for summer school. He was a seismologist that was interested in earthquakes that were happening around this Oklahoma area. So that's why he was there. So Trevor and Phoebe had age appropriate friends, including Lucky Domingo, played by Celeste O'Connor, and Logan Kim as Podcast, who was a big fan of the Ghostbusters. Now, unlike Answer the Call, Afterlife slowly introduced the original characters into the story. So first we had Annie Potts, who played Janine Melnitz, the original receptionist who knew about different things that Egon was doing around the farm. Then Ernie Hudson came in as Winston Zeddemore. He was now a businessman and philanthropist, and he was helping keep Ray Stantz going in his now what would you call it? A paranormal curiosity shop that he had. Uh, P- Bill Murray shows up as Peter Venkman eventually for the film's climax, and Sigourney Weaver appeared as Dana Barrett in a pre-credit scene to complete the cast integration. Afterlife had a credible story. Enjoyed that film a lot. It was entertaining enough that it was a financial success and not at all controversial like Answer the Call, which leads us to Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. This film begins in the year 1904 as the occupants of the Northmore Street Firehouse respond to a call that's thought of as a fire. But what they find instead is a room full of frozen people. And there's an incident which I'll leave to you to discover if you decide to see the film. Fast forward to the current day when the Oklahoma crew has moved back to New York City and they are now living in the Ghostbusters firehouse, supported by Winston, of course. Callie and Gary are now firmly ensconced as a couple, although they don't appear to be married, at least not to me. Um Trevor is 18 and he wants to be treated as an adult. Finn Wolfhard, who is 21 in real life, runs around for about an hour saying, I'm 18, I want to be an adult. Yeah, okay. Phoebe, not quite 18, and she's heavily involved in the family's Ghostbuster activities as they zip around New York City. I think I have a slide of that, doing Ghostbuster activities. Let me take a deep breath here. Got to put the glasses on again. Sorry about that. Oh, yeah, that's true. They're not really good at the Ghostbuster activities. While they might capture ghosts, they create a lot of destruction along the way. Destruction that brings back William Atherton as Walter Peck from the first Ghostbusters movie. Peck, who was the EPA investigator in that movie, is now the mayor of New York. And as soon as he finds out that Phoebe oh, is 15 years old, there's trouble to be had with the now Ghostbusters. So he forbids her from taking part in any Ghostbuster activities and what have you. Meanwhile, we have a new character. It is Nadim Razmati. He comes, played by uh, Camille Nanjami. Uh, he comes in to Ray's shop with some items that he wants to sell for some quick cash, but unbeknownst to him, is an orb that was responsible for all the freezing people that we saw in the opening in 1904. That's all I'm going to tell you about the story. Here's what I'll say about it. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire has a screenplay that was written by Gil Keenan and Jason Reitman and is billed as based on the 1984 film Ghostbusters, an Ivan Reitman film written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. That's the billing. And that's also the problem. This film felt more like an homage to the first film. Uh, there are scenes that are uh, completely, I feel, derivative. So while it may be seen by some as light family entertainment, I found it completely derivative of that original movie. There's also allusions to the film Backdraft and Geostorm, as well as scenes from the original film. So, like things that happened in this film happened in the first Ghostbusters film. Phoebe, who was the most intelligent character in Ghostbusters Afterlife, comes off in this film as a juvenile delinquent. Uh, there are 3 additional cast members that should be mentioned. Uh, James Acaster, who is seen in the center of this film, standing over the orb, appears as Lars Penfield. He is one member of a whole crew of para researchers that were hired by Winston to investigate or be a part of the ghost busting business. And did I bring it across? I'm not sure I brought it across. This is Nadim's apartment that he inherited from, I think his aunt or his grandmother or what have you. I thought I had a slide. Patton Oswalt appears in this film. So and then there's one additional character that I must mention. She's a pivotal character. Anyway, Patton Oswalt is Dr. Hubert Wartsky. Yeah, he toils in the basement of, yes, the New York Public Library on 42nd Street and Fifth Avenue. And Emily Allen Lind, she appears in a pivotal role as Melody, who is an apparition who befriends Phoebe and that Phoebe meets and plays chess with in Washington Square Park. So Gil Keaton's direction is fine, except I do question uh, that there's virtually no traffic or construction in Manhattan during this film, but I leave that up to creative license on his part. As I said earlier, some may view Ghostbusters Frozen Empire as an okay family entertainment. I just viewed it as an uninspired rehash of the original film, which could have used less derivative set pieces and than the ones that we were given. They needed to do some new stuff. So here is the rating scale that I use for all of the films and TV shows that I review. Uh, it's a 1 to 10 scale. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is rated PG-13 by the Motion Picture Association for supernatural action, violence, language, and suggestive references. And on this 1 to 10 scale, there should be no surprise because I published it on my Twitter X account yesterday. I give Ghostbusters Afterlife a 5 out of 10. 2.5 stars on a 5-star scale. Yeah, family entertainment is fine if uh, you're going to be the only person in the theater. If you're going to take a family of say 4 people to the theater and spend money on popcorn, soda, and God knows what else treats, you might do better to wait until the film hits digital VOD or Netflix, or if you really want to wait until it hits Disney Plus. 5 out of 10 is what I wait, uh, what I'm rating it as. Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, or I should say, Ghostcore is promising us another film, another sequel with the original cast members. Here's hoping for a better script. They're batting 1 out of 3. That's good in baseball, but it's not necessarily good in entertainment. As I always say, watch content, form opinion. You just heard mine. I'd like to hear yours. There's a live comment. Let's see who it's from. Who you gonna call? Mikey Lito, exactly. Hey, Darth Plato, how you doing? Uh, it's an okay film, but I mean, if you're fans of the first 2 films, I really don't know what to tell you. Maybe you'll enjoy it more than I did, but I had to slap myself around a couple of times to keep myself from going to sleep. So, anyway, uh, please comment down below, like and share this video, and subscribe to the channel. Uh, you'll find me on social media channels right here, uh, all these different channels, and I will post my written review on my leisure blog at mikeylito.blog. And you can also read my opinion blog about things that have nothing to do with popular culture, at least not entertainment wise, on mikeylito.com. So that's it. Oh, that belongs over here. Ha ha ha. That's it. Until next time. Now, oh, I do have one thing that I want to talk about before we go. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about Regal refillables. And so this week's demo, and I have to turn off the fake luxury apartment that I have here. So give me a minute. Let me do that so that I can show you what I want to show you. This is the cup for Regal refillables that I showed you a couple of weeks ago, and yesterday I did not take the refillables away. I used points in order to get a small Pepsi. And this is the cup for the small Pepsi. They are exactly the same size, 32 ounces. If you put 32 ounces of fluid into these cups, it's filled right to the brim. Right to the brim. So you might wonder, I can now put the fake luxury apartment back on. Uh, what's the good deal on the refillables? Here's the thing: if you go to the theater on a regular basis and uh, you buy either the soda or the popcorn on a regular basis, after about the third or fourth time, it does uh, start kicking in some cost savings. This cup, oh, I took it off. This cup with a small popcorn was $17. $17, and that was with a 10% discount. So I didn't pay $17 because I'm a Regal Unlimited member, and I used points for both the popcorn and the soda. So it was worth it for me, but um, I don't know. It can be quite expensive. So that's our Regal Refillables report for this week. Now next week we're going to see Godzilla. I don't know how to pronounce this movie. Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire. But it's the new Godzilla movie from Legendary Pictures. I'm still, I would much rather, well, I shouldn't say much rather. Maybe I'll enjoy this film. Maybe I won't. Uh, I would really like to see Godzilla Minus Zero again, and I'm waiting for that to hit physical media and or digital media because I really want to see that film again. I really enjoyed that film. Elsewhere on the channel, there's a review of Godzilla Minus Zero, and you should definitely watch that film. I apologize for looking down all the time. There's no notes there. I don't know why I'm looking down. But next week we're going to see Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, and we'll be on Friday with the review. I'll see the film on Thursday, and we'll see the review on Friday. And even though I was a bit prepared today, hopefully I'll be better prepared next Friday for that. So until next week, this is Mikey Lito saying thanks for watching. And until next week, ciao for now.